Welcome to this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. Quick pop quiz. What is Tuesday, November the 6th, 2012? Give up? It's Election Day 2012. Big day here in the state of Virginia. And on today's program, we're going to be talking with the voter registrar and a member of the Board of Elections to find out what you need to know before you go to vote on Tuesday, November the 6th. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene, joined now by Susan Saunders, the voting registrar with the City of Suffolk, and Beverly Outlaw, who is the secretary with the Electoral Board here again in the City of Suffolk. And ladies, thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you for being here with us.
Well, we're here to talk about a lot of things involving the election process, especially the election that's coming up this fall, which has got a lot of things that potentially are going to be on the ballot, depending, of course, where you're voting. So let's kick it off with that. Before we talk about some of the, I use the phrase very loosely, rules changes, and some of the changes that have taken place, and also some of the procedures folks need to know about to get registered or to where to vote and things like that. Let's talk about what's on the ballot. And this might take up the whole show because, again, there's quite a few things on there. And Beverly, I think you're going to lead us off and tell us a little bit about what options you have for each particular race and also some of the constitutional amendments.
Yes, we have a lot of decisions to make this November on the ballot. Of course, the presidential race is up, and Obama and Biden are going to be opposed by Romney and whoever he selects as his running mate. And we also have a race for the United States Senate seat, and George Allen and Tim Kaine are running for that office. And for the 4th District for the House of Representatives, our incumbent Randy Forbes is being challenged by Chesapeake educator Ella Ward. So, so that has to do with our state and federal elections. And also on the state level, we'll be looking at 2 proposed amendments to the state constitution. The first one has to do with eminent domain, and that's the power of government to take private property for public use. And this new amendment limits the conditions under which government may do that. And it also says that when government takes private property, that they have to give people just compensation. They have to pay a going rate for it. And so that's one amendment that we're looking at this November. The other amendment has to do with the session for the General Assembly. Every year after the regular session closes, the General Assembly has to come back and look at laws that the governor has either amended or vetoed. And so this amendment says that they can postpone coming back for a full week. And what that allows them to do is to not schedule that, what they call the reconvene session, when there's a religious holiday. Especially sometimes it conflicts with Passover. And so that's a concern. So we have those 2 amendments to look at.
And again, in those situations, you're voting for or against, correct?
Exactly. And then after we take care of that, we have our local folks to vote for. And of course, we have a contest for mayor. And Linda Johnson, our current mayor, is being opposed by Leroy Bennett, who's on council now, and Brett Breedemeyer, who is a local attorney. And we have some council seats that are up for selection and some school board seats. And in the Nansemond borough, Rob Barclay, and you know Rob's on the council now, and he used to represent Sleepy Hole Borough. But with redistricting now, he is in the Nansemond borough. So he's running to represent that part of the city. And he also is being opposed by Lou Ward. And then in Sleepy Hole, we have 3 contestants. We have Kevin Alston, Raymond Batten, and Roger Fawcett who are running. And in Whaleyville, Curtis Miltier is running unopposed. And Curtis has been representing us for a while. Now we look at the school board. And in the Nansemond borough, Judith Buck is running unopposed. And in Sleepy Hole, Diane Foster is running unopposed. In Whaleyville, we have a contest. We have Phyllis Byram running, and we also have Marion Dean Flood seeking that office. So they are all of the decisions that we'll have to make in November. And please let me encourage people to look at those races and make their decisions you know, before they get there, since
Sure.
we do have so much to vote on, and to take a look at those amendments in their entirety.
Right.
They can do that by going to a website that is sbe.virginia.com. And we also have some very nice pamphlets
Okay.
here at the registrar's office
Correct.
that explains those two amendments very well.
Now, of course, the SBE, that's the State Board of Elections, correct?
That
So
is.
again, you know, you're going to, in essence, a neutral site that can basically lay out what exactly the item is in that sense. And I think we'll be referencing that website quite a bit throughout the show because it offers a lot of valuable resources for someone, whether you want to know where you vote or, again, what the items are on the ballot, because I believe you can put in your address and you not only get the location, but you can see what a sample ballot, what you're going to be looking at when you walk in the voting booth. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that's always a useful tool there. Well, you know, we've talked about what is on the docket, so to speak, or on the ballot that you're going to be facing, everybody's going to be facing this fall. But the deadlines have passed, so everybody who's going to be running for a particular office has already been qualified or registered for those particular things. But what about the voters? What are the deadlines they're going to be looking at as far as if I've already registered to vote, am I okay to do that? Again, I think we'll reference the state website, and
Yes.
Susan, I might let you cover that. And also, if I haven't registered to vote, when do I need to do that so that I'm eligible to vote in the November election that we're talking about?
The first deadline, October 15th. That's the deadline on which you need to register to vote if you're not already registered. It's also a time that you need to change, if you need to change any information, if you've moved,
Right.
if you've had a name change. These things must be done by October 15th.
Okay.
Now, it must be postmarked if it's mailed
Okay.
October 15th, so that certainly is a deadline. You need to keep track of that. The deadline to vote in person by absentee ballot is November the 3rd.
Okay.
Our office will be open that day. We'll be open the 2 Saturdays prior to the election, so that would be October 27th, which is a Saturday, as well as November 3rd, and
Okay.
that again is the last day to vote in person
Right.
by absentee ballot. You
Okay.
come to our office. We're open from 8:30 to 4:30. Another deadline you must keep in mind is the last day that we mail out ballots is October the 30th.
Okay.
So when we receive your application, we must receive it by that day because it's the last day that we mail out ballots.
Now, just real quick about as far as the getting registered to vote, how can you do that? You can do, I believe you can do that online, is that correct?
You certainly
But you also can come into your office here, which, by the way, let's take just a second to say, what is the address that we're located at right now?
It's 440 Market Street.
Okay.
We're in the Human Resources Building, which is located across from the Municipal Center.
Yes, ma'am.
The applications are available online.
Okay.
You can, like you said, you've been referring to the State Board of Elections website.
Right.
You can also obtain it through our City of Suffolk, Virginia website. Go
Correct.
to the registrar. You can get that from the department. Go to registrar, and then you'll be able to access the various locations on that. If someone wants an application they can't get to us, please call.
Okay.
They certainly may call our office. We'll send out an application. If they have any questions, do you want me to give that number now?
Sure, please do.
It's
Please do.
area code 757-514-7750.
Okay.
So we certainly do encourage people to do that now.
Right.
Don't wait till the last
No.
minute. We'll be very busy prior to the election, certainly.
imagine
So
so.
if you want to check on that information, it's a
Okay.
good time to do it now.
What are your office hours, by the way?
We're open Monday through Friday,
Okay.
8:30 to 4:30.
Okay, and of course, I think we all can remember you talked about getting it done early.
Yes.
4 years ago, a very hotly contested presidential race.
Yes.
The turnout, I think, in the city of Suffolk, record numbers, a lot of people standing in line. So obviously, absentee might be a way to go, correct, in that particular instance, if you want to avoid some of the rush.
Yes, if you're not able to be at your polling site
Correct.
on Election Day, please call us if you have questions.
Right.
Again, we'll be glad to assist you in filling out the application. Any information that you want, please have, call our office. We'll
Okay.
be glad to divulge that.
Now, if you wanted to vote absentee, what is the process for that? Take us through that step. Again, we just mentioned about, you can't be at your polling place the day of the election, and you mentioned the deadline. I'd like to get that out there one more time. Again, just talk about what the process is to do that. Again, I believe you have to put an application in first and foremost, and then from there you have, I guess, 2 opportunities to take care of that as far as here at the site. Is that right?
Correct. We start absentee ballot voting in person on September the 21st.
Okay.
So that's when you can actually come in person to our office. At that time, you will need to fill out an absentee ballot application form.
Okay.
You have to do that whether you come in person to vote or whether you request that be mailed to you.
Right.
So that is a process that you must do, whether it's here or if you do that by mail.
Okay.
So once that's done,
Right.
then you come up into the office, and we have the voting machines here.
Okay.
So you're actually able to vote in person.
Got it.
Once we receive your application by mail, if you choose to do it by mail, when we receive your application and we have the ballots,
Right.
then we mail the ballot to you.
Okay. So it's a pretty
So,
simple process.
yes,
Good deal.
yes,
Good
yes.
deal. Well, but we have a few minutes before we take a quick commercial break, but let's also talk about some changes here. And I don't want to rush through this part because we have certainly the new boroughs following the redistricting process, which
Yes.
Beverly, you had mentioned off the top of the show, as well as some new precincts as
Yes.
well. So I don't know who wants to tackle that one to talk just basically about what some of those changes have been, and also we'll note the fact that of course we're always upgrading our website to get that information there, so if people want to know. But again, we also reference the state board site where you can plug in your address and it will tell you your polling place, and again, as we noted, the items that are on your particular ballot.
Yes. Yes. The best way, I think the easiest and fastest, if you look at your voter ID card,
Correct.
it will actually give the physical location of your polling place. Now, as a result of the redistricting, we have already mailed out all the voter ID cards to those that were affected by this redistricting. If they look at their card, they will see their precinct, and they will see the physical address of their precinct. And again, if they have any questions, please call
Right.
our office. We'd be glad to walk them through, either
Okay.
looking at their voter card, or we can look it up through our Veris system.
You know, someone's sitting at home going, okay, well, that sounds great, but I don't have my voter card, or I lost or misplaced it. What can someone do about that?
Call our office. If you're a registered voter
Correct.
in the city of Suffolk,
Right.
and all we'd have to do is mail a replacement card to you.
Okay.
It certainly will be a form of ID at your polling site. If you have lost it, if you've misplaced it, call our office. We will be glad to send, like I said, a registered voter in the city of Suffolk a replacement card.
Okay.
There would not be a need to fill out a new voter registration application form.
Okay.
All they'd have to do is call us, and again, we'll send them a replacement card.
It sounds like you are making it very easy for folks to get out, to
Absolutely.
have the correct
Yes.
information, have the proper tools you need to get there to vote when it comes election day.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a short commercial break. We'll come back and we'll have a whole lot more to talk about here at the City of Suffolk's Registrar's Office. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene. Again, we're joined with Susan Saunders, the registrar here in the City of Suffolk, and Beverly Outlaw, secretary with the Board of Elections. And let's pick up again where we left off. You go to the polls, you're ready to vote. What do you need to bring with you to be eligible or approved to vote at that point in the process?
You need to present a valid Virginia voter card, which will have on there your precinct. Again, I want to repeat that so
Right.
people will know there's been a lot of changes made. So if they have their voter ID card, they can vote. That is accepted as a valid ID.
Okay.
You also may present your DMV, your driver's license. It must be a valid current Virginia DMV, your license.
Correct.
You may present a government ID, a military ID, an employer photo ID. There are various other forms of identification. If you have questions, please, we encourage you to call. But if one would please remember again, I'll repeat this. If you don't have your voter ID card, if you've misplaced it, if it has been washed in the laundry and is disintegrated,
Right.
please call us and we'll send you a replacement card.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, and let me just say that if you call, that the registrar's office is always happy to tell you what other forms of ID
Sure.
might be useful coming to the polls
Correct.
and be accepted. And you can also go to that same website, the State Board of Elections website,
Right.
and they have a whole list
Okay.
of various things that will be accepted as at the polls
Correct.
on the day of election. But even if you get there and you do not have an acceptable form of identification,
Right.
you can still vote.
Okay.
And the way you would do that is with what they call a provisional ballot. You'd be given a paper ballot that you'd fill out, and you would vote for all of the offices and amendments that everyone else is voting
Right.
for. And you would cast that ballot confidentially.
Okay.
But there's a follow-up that you would have to do, and you would have to come to the registrar's office or mail in an acceptable form of ID that would be received in the office no later than noon the Friday after election.
Got it.
So your vote is held for counting until that ID is received and accepted. So even if you get to the polls and you've forgotten that driver's license or don't have your
I'm sure
voter's
it happens,
card,
though.
you
Yeah.
won't be turned away and not allowed to vote.
Got it.
But you will have to get the ID to us prior to noon on the Friday following.
Election, got it. Okay, so I guess if there's a will, there's a way when it comes.
Absolutely.
And again, I guess it's providing the most opportunity, if you will, for the potential voter, that he or she has that opportunity to cast their vote so that, everyone can participate in the process. Again, assuming you are a registered voter.
Yes.
And again, you provide adequate ID either, before or after in the case of the provisional ballot that you noted.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we've talked a lot about some of the great resources and ways and things. So now I'm going to give each of these ladies an opportunity to talk about their respective offices and boards here and what services you provide both before, during, and after an election, really, because there's a lot of things that I'm sure we haven't covered or would just like to reemphasize. And we'll start with the registrar's office, which again we're taping in here today. And Susan, I'd like you to also tell us again where you're located and then talk about some of the other things and services that your office provides.
Okay. Again, we're located at 440 Market Street, and that is in the Human Resources Building, across the street from the Municipal Center.
Correct.
We're on the first floor. We provide various services. First and foremost, of course, we supply voter registration application forms. We also supply the absentee ballot application forms. We supply information, brochures, material, any things that have to do with the voting process. We help with supplying information to those that want to conduct a voter registration drive.
Right.
We supply candidates with information, forms, and we are of service to them as well. If they have any questions, of course, we're here for them.
Correct.
We are responsible for conducting and preparing for elections. We have 28 precincts now. And for those precincts to be supplied with the material they need to conduct the election, we must pack all their supplies together. We must distribute the supplies. We must keep up to date with the laws, the rules, and the regulations. So we're constantly, making sure that we are updated.
Right.
We conduct training for the election officials. We have various trainings on the voting machines, on the electronic poll books. We have a training in general for the election officials before every election. So they must be kept up to date as to the rules, laws, and regulations as well. Of course, we encourage those to come in and register to vote.
Right.
We would suggest, please, to come in early, to call if you have questions.
Right.
But we have services apply to those citizens that have questions as well.
Now, you mentioned about the training for those who are working the polls, but if someone was interested in participating in the process and trying to become a poll worker in any capacity, how do they go about doing that, and what is your recruitment, shall we say, for those type of individuals?
Please call the office. We welcome the calls of those who are interested in becoming an election official. And we get calls from people that say they want to volunteer.
Correct.
Well, it is a paid position.
Right.
So they are paid for the day.
Right.
They're also paid for the training.
Got it.
But we welcome those calls. We need, especially with the upcoming presidential election.
Sure, sure.
It will be very busy.
Correct.
It is a long day, but it's a very rewarding day.
Right.
So please, if anyone is interested, we encourage them to call the office.
Now, Election Day, what are the hours of Election Day?
The election day hours are 6 o'clock in the morning
Right.
to 7 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Now, for election officials, they must get there a little earlier.
I was going to ask you about that.
And stay a little later.
Right.
And they need to bring all their favorite foods
Right.
so they can have lots to eat during the day.
Come prepared, right?
Come prepared, yes.
Indeed. Well, that's the registrar's office, but let's also talk about the board. I mean, you're one of, I believe, 3 people on the board.
Yes.
But talk about the role that you folks play as far as in the election process and preparing everything, and what happens on Election Day. What are you folks doing, other than being very busy?
We're working hard. We're working hard. We do have a 3-member electoral board. We're appointed. And we have 3 main areas that we're responsible for. One is the administration of elections.
Okay.
And that's going to keep us busy this November.
Correct.
The other is making sure that all of the disclosures and financial information regarding campaigns
Correct.
are met.
Right.
And then the third has to do with making sure that we have all the processes in place to support the voters in the
Right.
city.
Exactly.
And one of the most important things we do to make sure that happens is that we recruit, appoint, and oversee the general registrar.
Gotcha.
And make sure that she gets all of that stuff done that she was just talking about.
Right.
As far as what we do on the day of election, we are available at the office. We respond to any voter complaints, inquiries from the state board. We visit the precincts to make sure that all of the laws are being adhered to.
Correct. Correct.
And we also, on the day of election, do a count of all the votes that come in. So as late as the poll workers are staying, we're staying a couple hours later.
That's right.
And we're responsible for the security of all the voting equipment on that day and throughout the year.
Correct.
And after the election, we are charged with making sure that all of the ballots are counted correctly and reports are given to the state board on the appropriate forms in the appropriate manner.
Exactly. Exactly.
And looking at any provisional ballots, and we talked about those
Sure, right.
that are cast,
Right.
and resolving any conflicts that exist.
I understand.
And then hopefully there are no really close races
Correct.
that are going to require a recount. Because
Exactly.
if there's a recount,
Right.
then we're working another week or so,
Gotcha.
taking care of that.
So the job does not end on election night for sure, does it?
No, the job goes on all year. We meet
Right,
monthly.
exactly.
And we're charged with all of the liaison with the State Board of Elections to make sure all those state laws are carried out, and with the city to make sure that we do appropriately planning, financial reporting, and strategic planning
Correct.
for the Board of Election, just as all the city departments do.
Well, you two and the registrar's office and the board, very busy folks, like you said, year-round. So the process is not just, well, they just show up on election day and we vote, and that's just, we count a few things and go home. Not quite that easy, is it?
Not
Not
that I've experienced.
I got you.
Not that I've experienced.
Well, I'm going to give you both an opportunity to address this question. If someone is getting ready to go to the polls this year and they want to know just some tips, some suggestions you would have about, get there early. I mean, obviously there's different time periods that you have your peak periods throughout the day. Reemphasize again what you need to bring with you, and also anything about, look, did you think about, and that kind of a thing. I'll open the question to both of you and let you both take a hack at it, so to speak.
Let me let you start.
Well, and I've said this before, I'll repeat it. If you have any questions, please call the office prior to.
Right.
Make sure that you have a current, if it's a driver's license or your ID.
Right.
Check on your voter ID card if necessary. If you have a question about where you're registered or where your polling place is, be it the new precinct, an old precinct, the physical address, please call us, look at your ID card to see where you need to be on election day.
Right.
You can also, and we talked about this before as well, go to the www.sbe.virginia.gov website, and you can find out where you go.
Correct.
You can find out who's on your ballot as well if you go to that website. Certainly, if you have any questions regarding being an election official,
Sure.
call us. ID is foremost, and I don't know, do you think of something else that would be?
No, I agree that having your ID is very
Right.
important. And I would encourage people to do their homework so when they come to the polls, they know what they're going to be voting for and have made their decision
Correct.
before they enter the booth.
Right.
And to pack their patience for those people who didn't do their homework
Correct.
before they got to the
Right.
polls.
Now, I'm just curious, if you mentioned about being prepared. Well, somebody might show up and they might know one race but not the other. Is there a length of time that you have to actually, once that curtain closes behind you, or you can theoretically, I'm not going to say camp out, but I guess, can you camp out there, so to speak?
There's
and
no
read through it?
timer.
There is no timer. Okay,
There's
just
no
checking to
timer.
make sure.
But I will mention too,
Sure.
as far as the peak times.
Correct.
We found in the past that peak times are usually early in the morning.
Right.
And, well, before people go to work,
Sure.
as well as in the evening when people are coming home from
Correct,
work.
correct.
So those of you that would want to visit your precinct, say 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in
Right.
the afternoon, might be a good time to go.
Got it. Okay. Well, good advice from the two of you. And again, the contact information for the registrar's office. Let's give that phone number one more time.
It's 757 is the area code, 514-7750.
Okay, great. Well, Beverly, Susan, thanks for joining us.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to Election Day 2012, Tuesday, November the 6th, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And again, if you need more information, please reach out and contact the registrar's office or visit their website, and we'll have that information on the screen. Great information out there in case you have any questions. If not, just pick up the phone and call. Thanks for watching this edition of On the Scene. We'll see you next time.